Well, okay. So today we are going to start our discussion on Chhatrapati Sambhaji and Siddhi's relation. Last in the last class we have finished with Sambhaji and Mughal relation, and interestingly, Chhatrapati Sambhaji was almost simultaneously fighting against these three powers: Mughal, Siddhi, and then Portuguese. And there was Mughal. Out of these three, the Mughal were the supreme power. Mughal सबसे ज़्यादा strong थे और मुगल emperor जो था औरंगजेब, he had a control over almost all over India except a few area, except some area in the south. And he pressurized these two other power, Siddhis of Zanzira and Portuguese of Goa, to not to cooperate with Sambhaji, or on the other hand, join with Mughal against his opponents, the Marathas. So here we are going to discuss about what role Siddhi had played in this multi-dimensional conflict that Sambhaji has to face during his regime, that is from 1680 to 1689. We have already seen in the last class as he continued to fight, and in 1689 he was captured and killed by Aurangzeb's order. Siddi, this is a fort of Siddi called Zanzira, and which is on the western coast, south of Bombay, and this is on the island, very close to the mainland, and this is a very strategic place, strategic in a such a way that it is a very strongly built. It's very difficult to approach this fort from any angle. This sea that you see here between the mainland and the island is very shallow sea. So here you cannot take bigger ships, and there is gate, very few gates, so it's very difficult, and these gates are guarded by the cannon. So if anybody tries to approach this gate, will be fired upon. And that is the reason we see that this western coastal area, so that is Konkan, south of Bombay, was a significant portion of it was under the control of the Marathas since the time of Shivaji. It was under the control of Adil Shah first, but then later on Shivaji conquered it. But nevertheless, it was not possible for Shivaji, and we will see this now, Sambhaji, that they could conquer this fort. During later on, when Peshwa became very supreme Maratha power in the almost whole of India, they could, conquered a significant area almost of the fort, and Siddhi finally surrendered to the Peshwas. But nevertheless, this fort remained by and large unconquered, and that is a very significant, very interesting episode in the history. So let us talk about Siddhis first. Who were these Siddhi? These Siddhi, they were Abyssinian, and as the city power remained very close to the Maratha, Sabasad, who wrote that Bakar, he says that, as there is a mouse in the house who would destroy the house within, so similarly, Siddhi is for Swarajya. Swarajya is Shivaji's kingdom, which was very close, and Siddhi's fort were very close, but still Marathas could not conquer Siddhi for a very long period. And even he mentioned it's like disease in your stomach, disease in your stomach, it's very difficult. It will spoil the whole system. And who were these Abyssinian? So during the medieval period there was a flourishing trade of slave, and generally the black people on the African coast, they were caught, this Arab and even the European people, they used to raid that African coast, and they will capture some people, and then they will put them in the ship, and then they will be carried to the different places and to be sold in the market like a slave, like a cattle. And those people, black people, as they were physically very strong, they were preferred as slave. Many times this tribe, the black tribe, they themselves sold some of their people in return of exchange of certain goods. So these people, black colored people, who they became a part of Delhi Sultanate as well. Delhi Sultanate people, the ruling class, including Sultan as well as nobility, they used to purchase the slave. And as they were very strong physically, sometimes they are also employed as a bodyguard. Sometimes they were also used to fight. And though initially they came as a slave, they had married alliances here, and they had their own children. And there is a place called Abyssinia. So from Abyssinia, many of them were captured and brought to India initially, and then later on, many of them were born and brought up in India, and they have not seen the land of their forefather, Abyssinia or Africa, but still they were continue to be referred as Abyssinian, and in Hindi and Parsi and in Marathi also, it was pronounced as Habshi. So that word came from Abyssinia, as it was believed that they came from the Abyssinian country of Africa. Now these people, the black people, slowly over a period of time, they became an important force. They used to communicate with each other. They used to have their group, and many of them they were freed from slavery, and they became an important people. Some of them have reached to the high position of nobility, like Malik Ambar was one of the high noble of Nizam Shahi. And they had their own pressure group, like they will help each other and they will try to monopolize the power. If you study the history of Bahmani Sultanate, we find that these black people, black Muslim, they joining hands with the Deccani Muslim, and they were in opposite camp to the Pardeshi Muslim. Pardeshi Muslim who came mainly from Persia. This Turk and Persian and Iranian, they used to consider themselves as racially superior people, and they used to treat these people as a kind of inferior people, but nevertheless they were very strong. And this Zanjira fort, it was conquered by one of the Nizam Shahi noble, Nizam Shah of Ahmednagar, from by treachery from a fisherman, the Kodi. uh, he was a ruler of that area, and this some of this Nizam Shahi noble, including some Hafshis, they took shelter here, requesting this Kodi to give them shelter. And in the middle of the night, they just rose and they killed this unsuspecting Koi king, and they occupied this land. So Nizam Shah, he built this fort, but later on, this Nizam Shah, the Nizam Shahi of Ahmednagar was no longer in existence. It got extinct, and the territory was handed over. Partly it went to Adil Shah, and partly it went to Mughal. So this fort, which was under the control of Nizam Shah, first went to Adil Shah. But as we have seen while studying the growth of Shivaji, during this period, Adil Shah was considerably weak for variety of reasons. The Sultan was weak, or there was child Sultan on the throne, and because of this reason they could not pay a lot of attention to this fort, which was little away. And the Marathas were rising. So these Siddis, this fort was held by the people, the Abyssinian, the black people, who were called Siddis. And one of them used to elect their leader, and then that leader will decide, or the leader will decide in council to whom they should remain faithful, whether they should remain faithful to Adil Shah. And as now Adil Shah has become weakened, they switched over to become vessel of the Mughal. वो मुगलों के चाकर बन गए, मुगलों के नौकर बन गए, and they continue to fight against the Marathas. यहाँ ये उनका मेन स्ट्रांग होल्ड था। और यहाँ आसपास की जमीन भी, जब भी उनको मौका मिलता था, तो इस जमीन के ऊपर भी वो अपना अधिकार जमा लेते थे आसपास में। यहाँ से निकल के अपने जहाजों में आते थे और यहाँ रेड करते थे। दे विल रेड, दे विल आइदर कॉन्कर टेरिटरी, इफ दे आर नॉट एबल टू कॉन्कर दे विल रेड द मराठा टेरिटरी, कैप्चर द पीपल, लूट द पीपल, carry them to slavery, kill the people, and then they will go back. Now, interesting thing is that this city is to the north of this Zanjira fort. There is Mumbai, which was developed by Britishers. It was an island, and this city used to have alliance with the Britishers. And he will raid the Maratha territory, and then he will take shelter in Bombay. And Marathas did not attack Bombay, thinking that it is not good to unnecessary by enmity of the Britishers. So there was a large an area, Zanjira, and then near to Zanjira there was a place called Murud, and then Nandgaon, Mandale, Manle, and then Srivardhan, Goa. So, all that area is collectively known as Hafsan, that is area of Hafshi. But it was always contested. Marathas, whenever they got a chance, they used to conquer this land on the mainland, but they could not conquer this fort, Zanjira Fort. So as it is very close to Murud, so it is also known as Murud Zanjira Fort. So you can see very strong wall and very narrow passages. It's very difficult to enter into this fort by the outsider. So if you are able to protect this gate by the cannon, nobody can approach it. It was built in such a way. Well, so Siddhis like this I think this background I have already told you. They were vessels of Nizam Shah first, then they become vessels of Adil Shah, then they become vessels of Mughal. And Shivaji, when he conquered Konkan, he came in very close contact with Zanjira, and his attempt of Zanjira conquest of Zanjira it failed. But near to Zanjira, he built another fort, Sindhudurg, and there he used to station his navy so that the city remained confined as now he had a strong resistance from Maratha forces of Shivaji. It became difficult for him to encroach further on the mainland, and his power remained by and large confined to this Zanjira fort. Near to on the coast, western coast, Shivaji he conquered two small islands, that is Khanderi and Underi. And on Underi Island, Shivaji constructed a fort in 1678. So ships that were coming to Mumbai from this Arabian Sea, they were in the range of this Maratha fort at Underi, and that is how Shivaji tried to control the coastal area. The Britishers and Siddi, as I told you earlier, they joined hands together against Shivaji, against Marathas. And as Underi and Kanderi as these two islands were conquered by coastal island were conquered by Shivaji. But then with the help of Britishers, Siddi he attacked Underi, and Underi was captured by Siddi, and but Khanderi remained with Shivaji. But as Shivaji was growing in power, the Britishers they feared Shivaji, and Shivaji's one of the accusation against the Britishers was that the Britishers are sheltering his enemy, that is Siddi of Zanzira. So accordingly, Shivaji and Britishers, after negotiation, they entered into agreement. And what were this agreement? And this happened just before Shivaji. I'm just telling you a little bit about background so that you have background in the mind when we discuss about the relation between Sambhaji and Siddhi. So Britishers, they feared Shivaji, and according to the agreement, British and Siddhi naval forces shall withdraw from the area under the Maratha control. So the area which was under the Maratha control, from there the Britishers as well as Siddhi, they will withdraw. If Siddhi is not willing to withdraw, the Britishers will stop giving any kind of help to Siddhi. Shivaji will keep his representative at Bombay to monitor the friendship and treaty, and the Britishers should not allow anyone in Bombay who is enemy of Marathas. And the Maratha prisoner of war, some of the Marathas were captured by Siddhi during this war, and the Britishers should ask that Siddhi should release those prisoners of war, and Siddhi should not be given shelter. She should not be allowed near Bombay, and Daud Khan, one of the noble of Siddhi, who created a lot of destruction in the uh, who created a lot of destruction in the Shivaji's territory, should be expelled from Bombay Island. And this was done in 1678, and we see that Shivaji was pretty busy. He was on expedition, and then he was fighting against Mughal. Then his own son revolted against him. So this treaty could not be implemented, and then. Shivaji died in 1680, and during Shivaji's time itself, when Mughal area near Surat was attacked by the Marathas, the Britishers they had factory at a place called Rajapur, and that factory was looted and burned by the Marathas. And the Britishers they pressed on to Shivaji that we are not enemy, we are businessmen, and you have unnecessarily destroyed, your soldiers have unnecessarily destroyed our factory, our goods, so you should pay us compensation. Of course, during the matter was not resolved during Shivaji's time, neither it was resolved during Sambhaji's time, but it remained one of the bone of contention that these Britishers and the Marathas they kept on discussing about the matter without it getting resolved. Now, as this is already told you earlier, Siddhi usually he raided Maratha territory, and during the rainy season he took shelter with the Britishers at Bombay. And The during those days, it was the Britishers at Surat who were trying to have some control over the Britishers at Bombay. You know, they were considered as the major authoritative center of the Britishers in India. And you know, they tried to control, but the Britishers at Bombay, they had their own problem. They said ki we are facing the issues. If we don't support Siddi, neither Marathas can be trusted. They both are aggressive, so whom we should trust? Uh, the Surat Britishers at Surat, they used to pressurize the Britishers at Bombay that you must respect the agreement that you have signed with Shivaji and don't allow Siddi to enter in your area or give him shelter. But the Britishers, they themselves were feeling quite helpless at Bombay. They did not have a lot of forces they can resist Siddi. Now, when situation was like that, Shivaji dies and Sambhaji becomes next Maratha Chhatrapati. And Sambhaji, he was observing whether the Britishers are following the agreement that was agreed upon by during the time of Shivaji. Uh, but Britishers, they did not sincerely try to put check on activities of Siddi, and Siddi, he kept looting Maratha territories during the time of Sambhaji and taking shelter in Bombay. And even, you know, some of the Maratha ships were captured by him and that he auctioned at Bombay. So that was not allowing the auctioning of the Maratha ships captured by Siddi was not definitely a friendly gesture on the part of the Britishers. Uh, So now, you know, the Britishers, they themselves were troubled by Siddi. Siddi used to do some kind of nuisance in their area as well. But the Marathas, on their part, they believed that Siddis and Britishers, they are in league with each other. Now, now Sambhaji, he took interest in this matter, and then he started pressurizing Britishers that you should not allow Siddi, otherwise we will attack your territory, we will attack British ship, or we may attack Bombay as well. And after this threat, the British, they stopped giving any help to Siddi. Uh, Now Siddi, he had no proper sheltering. You know, his main power was on the sea. He used to have sheep. Of course, that Zanzira island was quite strong, but nevertheless, he needed Zanzira island itself cannot provide everything. So he need to come on the coast to purchase certain things, maybe wood or you know kerosene and food, those kind of stuff. Once Britishers stopped giving him shelter and help, Siddi was very hard pressed, and he finally agreed that he will not attack the Maratha territory, and he took out his navy from Bombay. Now, Underi Fort, which was held by Siddi, you know, we know, just in the background, I told you Shivaji has conquered these two coastal island, Underi and Khanderi was with the Marathas, Underi was with Siddi now. And in the night on 18th August 1680, the Marathas, they attack Underi Island in the night, 200 Marathas. But Siddi was quite alert. You know, they were, as I told you, they were known for their bravery and martial skill. So Siddi was quite alert with his army, and he attacked. You know, when the Marathas they tried to enter fort, he killed large number of the Marathas out of these 200, and then out of the captured Marathas, he killed. You know, he chopped off the head of 80 Marathas, and then he kept those heads in his ship and carried it to Bombay. He wanted to display this as a mark of his bravery on the spear in Bombay, but the Britishers did not allow this kind of cruelty. And this kind of cruel act of the Siddi was also not liked by the Britishers at Surat, and they advised to the Britishers at Bombay that you should maintain friendly relation with Sambhaji. Sambhaji, he complained to the Britishers that you are not following the friendly agreement that we had with my father, but you are sheltering Siddi. So, you know, from this complete narration, we can understand that the Britishers were also playing a kind of double game. They were mainly interested in doing business. So as Siddi was very superior on the sea, and if they take enmity with Siddi, probably the Siddi will create trouble for their ships to come and go and land at Bombay. And if they shelter Siddi, the Marathas are going to be against him. So there was a problem, and the Marathas was not as strong on the navy as they were on the land. So during this situation, Sambhaji he prepared forces, and large number of forces were gathered at a place called Rajapur. And there was one person, interestingly, Daulat Khan, a Muslim commander of the Maratha Navy. And the Britishers they feared that probably the Marathas may attack Bombay as well, and then they opened negotiation, and Sambhaji from his side sent his vakil Avaji Pandit to Bombay, and Siddi Siddi he took away his naval ships from Bombay. Uh, the Britishers they assured to the Maratha vakil Avaji Pandit that if the Britishers if Siddi continues to attack Maratha territory, he will not be given shelter at Bombay. And due to the presence of the Maratha representative, there was pressure on the Britishers that they should not give shelter to Siddi. Uh, but nevertheless, though Siddi promised, his forces they continue to loot the Maratha territory. Maratha ships were attacked, and the Maratha people were looted at the place called Underi and Mazga. Now, earlier attack on Underi has failed. Large number of Marathas were killed, but Marathas they tried to capture Underi once again. And Sambhaji he collected forces at Nagothana, and he was now very determined. He paid advance payment of 6 months to soldiers, and he promised that I will give a huge amount of gold to the victorious commander, and the Marathas they attacked Underi. But the fierce battle was fought for 4 hours. A large number of people were killed from either side. But finally, after a lot of death and destruction, Siddhi managed to repulse the Maratha attack. Many soldiers from both the sides now died. So Siddhi has proved to be a very tough enemy to the Marathas. And now Siddi, he also started troubling the British territory. He demanded money, and then the British dockad at Bombay were vandalized by the Siddi's forces. And the Britishers, they now quite unhappy with Siddi's behavior, and they declared that no British person should take service under Siddi. The Siddi used to hire some British expert of artillery expert. But in spite of all that, the Marathas they continue to believe that the Siddhi and the British they are in alliance with each other against the Marathas. Uh, and in retaliation, the Marathas they captured some of the British ships. But when they received promise that they will not help British will not help Siddhi anymore, some of the ships were released. But nevertheless, in spite of, we see that there was a it was not a very straightforward, clear-cut relationship. The Britishers, as I told you, they were in a dilemma what to do. If you trust Marathas, Siddhi will trouble you. If you help Siddhi, the Marathas will trouble you. So the Britishers, they used to make promises that, okay, fine, we will not shelter Siddhi, but they were forced to do so. They used to sign an agreement that Siddhi will not attack Maratha territory, but Siddhi will keep quiet for a few days, and then again he will start attack Maratha territory. So this aggression against the Marathas it continued, and then he burned this Nagothana, Apte, Chaul, and he also captured some of the people. And now somebody he decided to launch expedition against the main power, that is Zanjira fort itself. So Zanjira, as I showed you the figure earlier, it had a very high hall, 50 feet high. And in order to create a decision, Kondaji Farzad, the Maratha Sardar, was sent to work with Siddhi, these guys to work. And there he will ferment some trouble. But this fellow has proved to be a fool, because he went to Siddhi's fort Jazira, and he purchased a slave girl, and he started living with that girl, and he divulged her secret to that girl. I am actually soldier of Shivaji, but I came here. I am apparently working under Siddi, but my original plan is to ensure that Shivaji is succeeding to conquer this fort. And this girl, in return of certain money, divulged this secret to Siddi. Now this person, Kundaji Farzad, was caught and killed by Siddi very mercilessly. But nevertheless, Sambhaji continued with his preparation, and in December 1681, we see these early actions of Sambhaji during the early phase. He was very active. So he, collected nearly 20,000 soldiers near Dandarajpuri. Dandarajpuri is on the coastal line, very close to Zanzira, and Dandarajpuri to Zanzira is only 500 meters, half a kilometer of distance. Zanzira is in the sea, and Dandarajpuri is on the coast. So from Dandarajpuri, Sambhaji, he mounted his cannon and continued to fire at Zanzira. Some of the protective wall of Zanzira were also demolished. But the Marathas, they could not reach Zanzira because, as I told you, the boats, the naval forces of Siddi were quite strong, and they were guarding the fort. Sambhaji, he tried to, see, this is again, I will show you. This is the Zanzira fort, and this is the mainland. This is where Dandarajpuri is situated, and this is the distance of half kilometer. So it become, during those days, cannonball firing half a kilometer was not, cannon technology was not that developed, and it's very difficult to go because this island was protected by the naval forces of Siddi, and Siddi, he proved himself superior on the sea than the Marathas. So though this some of the protective wall were destroyed, but finally the Marathas could not really conquer this Zanzira. Even Sambhaji has tried to breach this fort. They said, "Okay, I will fill this up, and then my soldier will march directly, on the fort." But then, due to high tide, this attempt was not successful. It has proved to be failure. And when he was pressing on and thinking how to conquer this Zanzira, the war went on for a very long period. During the same time, the Mughal, they attacked Kalyan Bhivandi, north of this area, and then Sambhaji was forced to withdraw. And Dadaji Raghunath he was given the responsibility to press on with the siege. Dadaji Raghunath, he tried, along with his soldier in the small boats, they went up to Zanzira fort and tried to enter the fort in the middle of the night so that they can, attack the garrison suddenly. But that has also proved to be failure because Siddi was again a very alert, and he fiercely attacked the Marathas, and in the attack nearly 500 Marathas, they lost their life. So Siddi's attack, Siddi now became very aggressive as Sambhaji withdraw from this, and Siddi now, his soldier in the boat, they even landed on the coast and they attacked Maratha very fiercely. So Marathas had to withdraw. Even Dadaji Raghunath, who was responsible for this siege, even he has to run away, and his wife was captured by Siddhis. Then these Siddhi people, as I told you, they had a kind of noble council, and out of this noble council, there were two people, Siddhi Sambal and Siddhi Mistry. They joined hands with Sambhaji. And in October 1682, the battle was fought near Kolegaon between the navy of Siddi and navy of the Marathas. Siddi, he captured 7 Maratha ships and 45 men that included Siddi Sambal, and Siddi Mistry was badly injured. See, these two people, they came from Siddi's family, but they fought valiantly on the Maratha side. And this Siddi Mistry was injured and then he died later on. Then, out of this 45 men arrested, it is written that there were certain Muslim and there were certain Hindus. So the Muslims, their life was spared. Among the Hindus, they were asked if they are willing to become Muslim, they will be kept, they will be spared. So some of them became Muslim and their life was spared. But those people who were not willing to become Muslim, they were killed by Siddi. Now, Sambhaji, as he was fighting against the Mughal, and the Mughal, they tried to make friendship with all those people who were against Sambhaji. So Sambhaji feared that probably if these three powers are joining hands together against me, that is Mughal, Siddi, and Portuguese, my condition will become difficult. So, he wanted somehow to have at least good relation with the Britishers, because he also feared that if the Britishers are also joining with Mughal, then again it will be a bigger problem for me, because they had advanced technology and advanced weapon. So he sends the Prahlad Pant Niraji, who was in fact Nyadish in his Ashtapadhan Mandal, and with later this Nyadish Prahlad Pant goes to Bombay. And the Britishers at Bombay, they were in a dilemma what to do. So they kept this Nyadish Prahlad Pant, but they did not make any clear-cut commitment to the Marathas. And they said, okay, we are corresponding with the Britishers at Surat. Let us see what happened. And Prahlad Pant, he stayed at Bombay for 15 days, and then he grew very impassioned. He saw that the Britishers are, playing a double game. They are on the one side also supporting Siddi. They are also speaking softly with the Marathas. Uh, And so finally, Prahlad Panta, he said, okay, fine, I'll go back to my own territory. And when he was coming back with some of the Britishers, they were, encountered, they were stopped by the men of Sindhi. But somehow the British who were accompanying this Prahlad Panta, they saved their life. He was hidden. Somehow he reached Sambhaji, and he reported that the Britishers are following double policy. And meanwhile, Siddi, he attacked the coastal area called Pain and captured people, and the Britishers, they could not do anything about it. Now, in 1682, Mughal Navy, they came upon Marathas with a huge force, and they also marshaled their navy, and they asked the Britishers that you should help our navy. So, huge Mughal navy, they came to Mumbai with 22 big ship, 110 small ship, and 12,000 people. And they trouble this Mughal. They also trouble Mumbai. They done some looting, and the Britishers, they could not do anything, as the Mughal were very very strong militarily. And this has put Marathas on the defensive. And Marathas now, they try to have friendly relationship with the Britishers. But unfortunately, one of the British ship named Portuguese, that was mistaken by the Marathas as a Portuguese ship, and it was attacked. And in that attack, there were death of 11 British and 35 injured. And during this fight, three small Maratha ships were also destroyed. So we see the relationship of the Britishers was also entangled very thoroughly with the relationship between Sambhaji and Siddi. Now the Britishers and Maratha, they entered into negotiation, but nothing came out of it. Henry Smith was sent to Raigad to meet Sambhaji. Sambhaji, he evaded giving any clear reply, as and as Prahlad Panta was held at Bombay by the Britishers for 15 days without giving any clear reply. Similarly, Sambhaji tried to do the same thing. The British enemy was allowed to stay, but no clear-cut reply was given by Sambhaji. And in 1683, the Marathas, they marshaled their army and they came very close to Bombay. Even the small port near Bombay was captured by the Marathas, and now Britishers feared that Marathas might attack Bombay itself. And the Britishers at Surat, they were busy in their own problem, and they did not take any step to for the protection of Bombay. Now, at Bombay or Mumbai, there was some internal trouble within the British administration. And the island was in fact earlier given to East India Company, and the East India Company was there were a number of people who were unhappy with the administration of East India Company. So on the behalf of the king, they revolted and they captured the island. Governor Richard Ketchwin became governor, and then this Richard Ketchwin, he followed a clear-cut policy of friendship with the Marathas. And in a letter that is written by him to England, he says that Sambhaji is a very strong king and we should have friendship with him. And then from England also later came that you should maintain friendly relation with Sambhaji. And then Sambhaji and Britishers, they reached to an agreement in 1684, and they planned that now we should have joint action against Siddi. Siddi Kasam, the naval commander of Siddi, he was prevented from entering Bombay, and he went and took shelter at Surat. Surat was under the control of the Mughal. Uh, but again, the reconciliation happened between the people who supported King and the people who supported East India Company at Bombay within the Britishers, and the island was again handed over to East India Company. And as it came in the hand of the East India Company, Siddi again started pressing the Britishers that you should allow me to station my naval forces at Bombay, allowed me to enter Bombay. And the Britishers again they started showing certain inclination towards Siddi, and at Dabol in 1686, there was battle between Siddi and Marathas. And Maratha Admiral Govind Kano was captured by Siddi. 7, 8 Maratha ships were sunk and many Marathas were also killed. So we find that during the battle, Siddis are really coming out more exceptionally capable on the sea. Siddi he looted and burned Chaul, and many people they left this Chaul area. So as we have discussed in the last lecture also, from 1684-85 onwards, we feel that the Sambhaji's control on the administration was loosening, and this is obvious in the conflict with the Siddi as well. Some of the Maratha forts on the coast were also conquered by Siddi, as Sambhaji was on the defensive now, because now Adil Shahi and Golconda was no longer there, and Aurangzeb was concentrating his full forces to destroy Marathas. At Jaritpur, however, in 1687, a battle was fought, and that came out as one of the important victory to the Marathas. Nearly 400 people from Siddi's side they were killed, and Siddi Kasam, the naval commander of Siddi, was injured. 4 ships of Siddi Kasam were also captured by the Marathas. Meanwhile, in 1866, the order came from the England that the Britishers should maintain friendly relationship with the Sambhaji. And 1867, the Britishers and Sambhaji they sign an agreement. So here the Britishers, according to this agreement, the Britishers will not allow Siddi to attack Maratha territory from the sea, and the Britishers will be supported from land by the Marathas. The Marathas will also give money and rice to the Britishers. Now here, according to this agreement, the Britishers they tried to fulfill their part. They placed sheep in the service of 3 months. They spent a lot of money against the expedition against Siddi. But unfortunately, as Sambhaji was entangled in his fight against the Mughal, the Marathas could not support this British effort against Siddi. So no money and very small amount of rice was sent, and this has disappointed the Britishers. So the British they were quite disappointed, and they finally withdraw from the alliance. So now we find that this was the event of 1687, and now as Sambhaji was on defensive, he was chased, and the attempt was made by Aurangzeb to encircle him. And Siddi was also provoked by the Mughal to attack Maratha territory from wherever he can be. And 1688 onwards, we find that Siddi's attack on the Maratha territory was increased. And in next year, Sambhaji was captured by Mughal and was killed. So here, if we have to sum up the relation between Sambhaji and Siddi, we can draw certain things that which are very obvious. That his fort Zanzira was very strong. Marathas could not conquer it. Though Sambhaji has put all an effort, it's because of the pressure of the Mughal that he has to withdraw, and Zanzira remain in the hands of Siddis. Siddis were also supported by the Britishers. Britishers played double policy. They talk softly with the Marathas, but at the same time, they also. I'm having class. Just a minute. Wait for some time. Well, so because of the help that they continue to receive from the Britishers, Sydney they continue to take shelter at Bombay and continue to attack the Maratha territory. Now, was it a diplomatic failure of Sambhaji? Sambhaji, when he was fighting against such a strong enemy like Mughal, probably he could have settled his matter dispute with Siddhi, and probably he could have had at least one enemy less. But that is how we try to analyze what history is to be studied as it has happened. And in this relationship, we find that Sambhaji, though very brave and though pressurized Siddhi, even Marathas won a few of the war, and even Zanzira was hard pressed. Finally, it was not a very successful expedition against Siddhis of Zanzira by Sambhaji. So here we are stopping for some time being. Just a minute, hold on.